Today we're going to be looking at this Xbox Series X. I've got it currently in the box that it was sent in, and there is a rather good reason for that. And the reason for that is because it says, gutted isn't the right word to use. I took my Xbox into a repair shop that I've used several years ago. I was sent the complete Xbox in for repair to have it returned in pieces and the chassis missing. Any help will be greatly appreciated. I've got it all inside the box right now, and we're going to try and hopefully get this working for the customer. I don't know what it was sent in for repair for. I'm assuming by the fact that it's been taken apart, they've done something to it. But what that is, I do not know. But yeah, that is just absolutely ridiculous. The fact that they've sent it back in this condition is just insane. We've got a broken clip right there. But if you're new to the channel, my name's Hakko. I'm an electronics technician. I mainly work on games consoles, but I do work on other stuff as well. So if that's the sort of stuff you're into, be sure to get subscribed and turn on the bell notifications. That way you don't miss any future videos. And if you do want to organise a repair, I won't send it back in bits. Get in touch at www.thecode.repair, and you can either drop me a message and, you know, get a quote and things like that, or you can just send it in for repair and I'll do my best to fix it for you. If you do need parts and supplies for these, I sell them on my online store, consolefix.shop, so be sure to check that out as well. So yeah, let's just have a look at what we're actually dealing with here. So we've got a bunch of screws, and all of these screws are just loose inside the box, which is just, yeah, I promise you this is actually how I received this. But never mind, it's fine. I'm gonna just take a look. Okay, we've got a missing HDMI port here, so I don't understand why they haven't put it back together. Like, it just don't make any sense. But I think the first thing I need to do is just, we've got grommets falling out everywhere. Just power this on. I need to cover my own back, so what I'm going to do is just power this on and just see if it does actually turn on. So I'm just going to pop this ribbon in there, like so. And no, it does not. Ah, it's not going to. The flex ribbon here isn't in. Right, okay. Well, can't cover my own back then. But, I mean, I'm receiving it in bits. So, yeah, what can I do? Okay, never mind. So, I'm going to get this roughly reassembled so as I can actually do some tests on it. But it looks like the HDMI port needs replacing. But I don't want to replace that if the console doesn't turn on, right? Because that's just a waste of a HDMI port. I think this is absolutely ridiculous how this has been sent. Not by the customer, but how it's been sent back to them. I mean, obviously, if they've sent a console back, or rather, if they've sent a console into a repair shop, they expect it to come back in one piece, not in 300 pieces like this one is. So, I'm going to get some gloves on because I've started wearing gloves for no other reason than I don't like the flux on my hands. Never have, but I just never used to wear gloves. But yeah, I've started wearing gloves because it's a pain in the backside to actually get the flux off your hands afterwards. So yeah, here we go. So I'm going to just pop this out for a second. So I'm going to partially disassemble this so as I can fully reassemble it. Southbridge board not plugged in. Or rather, the power to the Southbridge board isn't plugged in. Absolutely everything is missing here. Wow. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, this is just absolute insanity. Like, why would they ever do this? Okay, so the first thing I need to do is screw this back on. So the question is, do we have the screws for that? Or am I going to need to replace them? The problem is, if I need to replace them, I haven't got any screws. I've got heatsink, but I've got no screws. So I'd have to use a brand new heatsink. Or rather, a replacement heatsink. I'm going to have to see what we've got included here. Okay, this is just boards and a couple of screws. I'll gather up all of the screws out of the box and just see what we've got. So we've got a bunch of foam here, obviously, but if I just get rid of all of that foam, yeah, we've got like 3 million screws here. Now, if I just get all of these screws in one location. Ignore these screws here, these are to a PS5 which I'm currently working on, but I've had to sideline it. Okay, that's every screw that's been included, I think. Yep, no screws down there. So what do we have here? We have, so these screws here, these silver screws, the small silver screws are what screw into the heatsink. Hopefully they're all here. I'm missing one. I think we're missing one of those screws, but that's not that bad. So I don't have any replacements without stripping it off another heatsink. That's the only issue. But one screw, it's not going to hurt it, I guess. I'll just have a quick look in my screw tub here, but I don't think I've got one. I wonder if a PS5 screw will fit. Yeah, it will. You know what? That'll work. That'll do it, okay? Fine. Now we've got all the screws in there. So there's one PS5 screw in there, but it's not a big issue. Let's just drop that out of the way. Let's just have a look at this HDMI area. Okay, so we have a bit of damage around the HDMI. Let's inspect this under the microscope quickly. Right, so we've got, well, quite a bit of mess here. There's only 2 missing pads. I'm thinking, well, I mean, I can't power this on. All of these are short. They're all bridged together. I'm going to have to sort this out. So if I'm going to sort it out, I may as well sort the HDMI port itself out before I actually do anything. Yeah, not fun at all, this. I mean, it's not a difficult job to do. That's not great, is it? Oh wow, what kind of solder's been used there? Okay. So that's all that sorted. But what I'm thinking here is, yeah, like I said, I may as well actually sort out the HDMI, right? Because then I've only got to put it back together once. So I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just trying to transfer this heat through the PCB. I can use a little bit of hot air to assist me in a second. Okay. There we are, you see that suck in then? Okay, there we are. So that's all of that sorted. I just want to get this little adhesive thing off here. It's annoying and it sometimes causes the port to not sit down fully. So I'm just going to slice that away. Gently, of course. and just realised that you couldn't even see what I was doing. So there was a little piece of adhesive there I just wanted to get rid of. And now I'm going to start to clean up this area. Alright, there we go. So we are pretty much ready to go there. Okie dokie. So what I'm going to do next then is I'm just going to expose these pads where the trace is missing. There we are. And now I'm going to attempt to jump, or attempt to run a couple of jumper wires. So we've got one for pin 19 here, and one for pin 10. Pin 10, yeah, pin 10. So one for pin 10 and one for pin 19. So I need to run a jumper wire to these so as I can restore the trace. I'll just tin this. Okay, there we go. So I've just tinned that, ready to accept a jumper wire. And then I'm going to use some enamelled wire. So I'll just hold that there. I'll grab my tweezers. And that didn't work at all. Right, there we go, there's one. And then we've got one more wire here. Okie doke. And now I can clean up. There we are. Let's just dry this remaining IPA. And then I can get these wires sat in place. So that one's relatively straightforward, it's just a straight line. But the one thing that I tend to do, and when I say tend to do, the one thing that my OCD makes me do is follow the original wire or the original trace. So the reason for that, these are data lines, right? And the signal integrity matters because it's HDMI. So if we've got one trace which is longer than another, then what tends to happen is you tend to get signal loss, or well, more so just like quality loss. So what I tend to do is I shape the wire so as it's following the original path that was intended for the HDMI. The reason that you get squiggly lines in the HDMI, or bent lines in this case, is because of timing. It needs to, the signals need to reach the end point at the correct time. And if you look at the data sheet on HDMI, they do have to be a specific length, and they can only be within, I think it's 0.3 millimeters out. So I'll just try to follow the original path as closely as I possibly can, and that way it prevents any kind of signal integrity issues. It's not absolutely needed, but my OCD makes me. So yeah, that's the reason why I do it. But now I'm just going to grab a little bit of solder mask, and when I say a little bit, a load's going to squirt out because, well, it always does. It tends to dry up on the top and then prevent it from coming out. You squeeze it really hard and it all comes out. I'm just going to drop some solder mask over this wire here to fix that into place, prevent it from moving. And then I'm also going to do the same on this one. So we don't need this much solder mask, so I will remove a little bit. There we are. Now I'll just grab the cotton swab and just dab it up a little bit. Like I said, we don't need that much. It's just to hold the wire into place, that's all. And then I'm going to cure it using UV light. And around about a minute should do it. But you can speed up the process by using hot air. Okay, that's nice and solid. It's all fixed into place, and we shouldn't have any issues with dropping a new port on there. I just need to have a look at the back of this. Okay, so the ESDIC seems fine. Not really worried about this solder that's on the ground plane here, but I think we're ready to drop a new port on. So I've got a brand new Series X port here. I'm just hanging the board over the edge of the table, and then that way I can heat up from underneath and just drop a new port on. I'll just add some flux. And then if I just heat up from underneath the board. So I've got my hot air at 440 degrees Celsius, and that's at 40% airflow. And what I'm looking for now is for the anchor points here for this solder to drop through, and then I'll know that it's ready to drop a new port on. So we're just about getting ready here. Okay, there's that one. I believe it's ready. I'll just drop that port on. Press down on the port itself. Push up on the board slightly and wait for it to solidify. Should be good there. Probably going to need to touch some of these pins up because, well, there's jumper wires there. If we just go back, we should be perfectly lined up here. And we are, and the jumper wires are also perfectly lined up. Good, that's what I wanted. And that's why I position them the way I do. So, yeah, we're going to need to touch these pins up. It didn't quite sit down and make contact with the solder, but that's absolutely fine. I can just run my iron across and we should be able to solder all of the pins nicely. So I've got a tiny dab of solder in the corner there. And then if I just use my iron, I can use what's called the drag method. And just basically drag across each pin. if I just come backwards and forwards a couple of times, clean my iron as I go, I should be able to clear up all the bridges while maintaining a nice contact on each pin. So every time I clean my iron and drag back across, it's picking up a little bit of solder off the pin. And eventually it'll get to a point where it's basically ready to go. Like that, look. So clean my iron again, and then I'm going to drag from the back and just make sure that we've got no solder sitting on the back pins or on the back of the pins. I knew there was a bit too much there. We do have a bridge in the middle where that jumper wire is. Okay, how about that? I think we might be good. Let's give him a test again. Okay, so I can see that wire. This is why I left it very slightly too long. I can see that wire moving when I tap the pin, which means that wire is soldered. And that one, because of the wire being fixed into place, it's fairly solid there. And yeah, all of those pins are good. I think we're good to go. Didn't take that long. Wasn't too bad. Okie doke. So now I'm just going to get rid of this old thermal paste and put some fresh thermal paste on. Beautiful. Some fresh thermal paste. I use MX4 for those of you wondering. And we'll get rid of the thermal paste off the heatsink as well. There we go. Good stuff. Happy days. Right, okay. I think I'm missing the actual APU clamp. I think. I mean, the screws are there, but I don't think the actual clamp is there. Which sucks. But I do have one here. So, yeah. I'm going to have to, obviously, replace it, because otherwise there's no way we can keep it cool. There we are. So, that's the heatsink screwed down. So I've got one on my desk here, so I'm not 100% sure if these actually come with it or not. I'll have to double check on the camera footage. Because I've got all of this on my desk, but I've got tons of parts on my desk, so I don't actually know. I'll double check on my camera footage. My cameras are rolling 24 hours a day anyway. Okay, so let's pop that in there. And then I need this. I think they actually come with it. If I'm being honest, I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure it come with it. Judging by the fact that I've got all of the parts literally right next to me, I'm assuming that they belong to this console. I can't remember if I took them out of the box or not, that's all. I'll double check though. But yeah, I'm going to get this fully reassembled, test it, and hopefully it's good to go. Ha! Alright, I just found that missing screw. It was buried inside the case. Well, never mind. It's fine. We've replaced it. Anyway, we're pretty much done here anyway. I heard someone rattling around, so I've just started to take it back apart again because I thought there was another piece of plastic. And yeah, it turns out it was that missing screw. Never mind. All's well that ends well. This is fully reassembled, apart from obviously a few screws, which, well, I'm not pausing the video again for that. What's really annoying about this is just how disassembled it actually was. There was absolutely no reason to take it apart this much. Damn it. Okay, the fan's actually broken there. It's not, the screw's not going to hold that in. It's not going to hurt the console, but I'm not going to put that screw back in because, well, actually, yes, no, I will, because if it ever gets replaced, at least the screw is there. I just realised that. It's not going to hurt the console. I don't think the customer needs to replace his fan for that, but I will put that screw in, because at least then it's there, right? You know, if the customer does want to replace the fan in the future, or if you need to replace the fan in the future, at least they're not missing a screw. But yeah, we are pretty much done. I just need to secure this in. It's a good job I know where every screw goes. Okay. HDMI. It turns on. I haven't secured this in properly. I'm going to have to unscrew that again, but whatever. Yeah, it turns on. Does it display? Yes, it does. Awesome. That is absolutely fantastic. So this appears to be working absolutely fine. I obviously need to give it a full test and stuff, but we've got display. And yeah, happy days. I am super happy with the result on that one, as I'm sure the customer will be as well. So obviously it needs a full test. I'll do that off camera, but everything seems to be working. It seemed to pick up the display straight away. Obviously I just need to sort this out. So I'm going to need to test, obviously, you know, making sure it works on the internet, making sure that the console updates and stuff like that. But obviously, in terms of the main console, it's now working again, and at least it can be used. But that was super annoying to see. Not from the customer perspective, you know, I get consoles sent in bits all the time. Not that I like it, but sometimes it does happen. From a technician perspective, it gives us a bad name. And obviously, I would never, ever think about doing that. I would never think about sending a console back in bits like that. I have offered in the past, and I have actually sent consoles back in bits, but there are good reasons for it. So a couple of times I've had customers say, oh, I'm just going to strip it down and sell the parts. So I said to them, oh, okay, well, do you want me to leave it taken apart? I'll package everything up properly. You know, I'll bag all the screws up, and I'll, you know, put everything nice and neat inside the box, and then that saves you stripping it. And sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no, but yeah, that was the original port. What the hell did they do to that? Absolutely ridiculous. Look at it. And no way that happened from the initial damage. But yeah, it is what it is. This console's fixed. A couple of damage traces on the HDMI port, and then obviously just getting it all reassembled and stuff. And yeah, it seems to be working fine. So happy days. I'm really happy, and I hope the customer will be too. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. And if you do need to organise a repair, you can get in touch with me on my website, thecoder.repair. And if you need to buy any parts and stuff for these, you can buy those from my online store, consolefix.shop. So with that being said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.